We're here in the heart of Sydney's Muslim community at Australia's most iconic Muslim landmark, Lakemba Mosque. We're here to meet with someone known as the Muslim Undertaker, a former pro bodybuilder turned funeral director and mortician. His story has gone viral across the world with tens of millions of views and hundreds and thousands of followers, all taken aback by his riveting reminders about death and dying. Let's go. This was a journey that literally changed my life, no lie, and was perhaps one of the most difficult things I've ever put myself through. Please watch all the way to the end because I assure you, this will change you the same way it changed me. In this series, we captured the stories of homegrown heroes who are pillars in their local communities. Just like our sponsor, National Zakat Foundation, a brilliant charity that collects your zakat and distributes it locally to those most in need, to strengthen the foundations of Deen in local communities for generations to come. Please consider supporting them where you can. Let's get back to the video. I wanted to know how a dude built like a mammoth ended up as a humble giant washing bodies at the mosque. How did he go from bodybuilding to burying bodies? And what is it about his work that has made him resonate with so many people across the world? It was a question I was itching to find out. But in order to explain how, I need to take you all the way back to where it all began. As a teenager, Ahmed grew up as a rebellious kid, often found up to no good in Sydney's west.
I used to go on the weekends to help my uncle on in his kayak, and I loved it, And I remember once I saw my uncle out of a can go and get petrol out of something into something else, like shifting petrol into it, and I thought, oh, I want to try that. And I did a few too many, and I kind of just dazed out. And I thought, this feels good. And my uncle kind of noticed, what's wrong with this guy? And subhanAllah, I ended up fainting and vomiting, and they took me to the hospital, and then my mum started crying, oh, my son's a junkie, and we don't want to wreck him and all this stuff. And then they go, you know what, let's speak to the sheikh, let's find the alternative, let's send him off to Pakistan. That's how I ended up in Pakistan.
So in a bid to save their son, Ahmed's parents did what any other concerned migrant parent would do, send their son to Pakistan to memorize the Quran. Did it work?
Man, I got taught a lesson, bro.
Did you memorize Quran?
Yeah, I did. I memorized a lot of the Quran. I came back here and the Lakemba Mosque, and I remember Sheikh Daj, Allah yarhamu, I had the amema on, and I was this 14 and a half, 15-year-old, and he said, you're going to lead the prayer, and that's, subhanAllah, that's kind of always my foundation. The Quran was always there.
It was a beautiful connection he shared with his religion. But after settling back into Australia, a newfound passion began to simmer inside him. It was the late 80s, and of course, all the craze surrounded this guy.
I'll be back.
And Ahmed wasn't immune.
It was the school week, Christmas holidays, the 6 weeks. I used to stay over with my cousins, and they used to go to the PCYC at Bankstown to play basketball. So I went with them, and I was this little skinny twig, weighed 40 kilos, and I heard all this groaning, and I kind of followed the noise, and it took me to this room, and I saw all these gorillas, and I love this is where I want to be. And I remember my first bench press was just a bar with no weight. We measured our biceps, and my biceps were like 11 inches. And I said, you wait, in 1 year, they're gonna be 12 inches, wait and see.
It wasn't long until Ahmed was enticed into the glamorous world of bodybuilding, quickly collecting achievements that he still carries to this day.
This is my man cave. The history here, everything's history here. That was my first ever bodybuilding trophy I won.
Oh yeah, your
I was a teenager.
Bodybuilding trophy.
Because I couldn't even afford to eat back then. Like my food was like a can of tuna for 60 cents. Because we were like 17 years old, and I was learning, and I achieved to win a comp eating off a couple of dollars a day.
It was a sport that was built for him, yet with no money in his pocket, Ahmed needed to find a way to sustain his love for the game. He soon found a job at the local grocery store, and it was through this he stumbled upon an unexpected passion.
And I remember my first job when I was on my P's. I would drive down to Homebush to work at Woolworths, and I would drive through into the cemetery on the way because I had a few hours to kill. So I would kill time there. And from there, subhanAllah, I used to see the cemetery as a place for tranquility, peace.
So Hajj Ahmed, this is perhaps where your story all began when you're 17 years old.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right here. I used to come here and I started to walk around. I used to read the names, I used to just walk around aisle after aisle and read names and ponder. So I would see overgrowth, back then.
No maintenance.
No maintenance. So I bought a whippersnapper with whatever money I had. And I used to come here before work and I used to whippersnapper and
clean what you could.
Clean what I could, yeah. And subhanAllah, man, it was amazing.
It was a feeling he couldn't explain and a place he cared so deeply for. The passion would soon transform into a career, and Ahmed soon landed a job digging graves in the cemetery. Now with the money coming in, he was able to take his training more seriously, and soon enough, Ahmed became a beast in the game. Or more precisely, a mammoth. The Aussie mammoth. Seriously, that was his actual gym name, Tabarakallah. The gym became his home away from home, and it was a home Ahmed graciously invited me into to see for myself. I mean, this place was so close to home for him, he even knew the guys on the wall. Yeah, that guy.
That's Ronnie Coleman.
Isn't that your mate?
Yeah.
Ronnie Coleman's your mate?
Yeah. Next to him there's the lightweight, yeah baby. So that was his saying. Yeah. Lightweight, yeah buddy. I lived with him for a bit, and when he came to Australia, he came like 9-10 times. Yeah. He'd always come to my house, I'd look after him. So I built a relationship with him. We never talked bodybuilding. Really? We talked life. Ahmed
would go on to spend years in the gym, perfecting his physique. And since I was here, it was only right I got in one session. Please forgive me if I embarrass myself. I haven't trained in a long time. And clearly I was already coming up with excuses. No, it's okay. I got this. 9, 10. Done? What do you say? Lightweight, yeah, buddy. Slow down, small guy. But anyways, I think I got a bit too carried away with him spotting me that I tried to see how far I could push myself. No other time in the world will I ever attempt something like this, but when you've got someone like this spotting you, I think I'm in safe hands.
Come on, what's that? يكسر حلو. بده يكسر حلو.
Yeah, I don't think he was impressed.
إن شاء الله يوم توكل على الله. Let's go.
Let's go for once. All right.
3, 2, 1. Up. So you come up, mashallah, come on.
I know what you're thinking. Did this little guy just pull that off? Alhamdulillah.
Like you did 4, that was impressive.
I mean, just having him tower over me was all the inspiration I needed. But anyways, back to the story. As Ahmed climbed up the bodybuilding ranks, it sure wasn't long until he began rubbing shoulders with his teenage icons. You've got Arnold Schwarzenegger. What was it like meeting with Arnie?
First time I met him, I was, I freaked out a bit because this is Terminator. I remember Terminator.
Hasta la vista, baby.
It was good. It was a good experience. It was great. It was what I wanted at the time. You got it.
Comp after comp, trophy after trophy, it was a sensation he couldn't get enough of. But as he gradually worked his way to the top of the industry, a new peak began to emerge on the horizon.
And I remember, the day I got my pro card and I became a professional bodybuilder. I rang my wife, I said to my wife, put the pies in the oven, I'm coming home. I said, that's it, I've accomplished that goal. I did it. That's all I ever wanted to was be able to do it. And I had no more passion for jumping on stage. It kind of just came out of me. And I thought, you know what, it's time to move on to something else now. And thus, that's where I started thinking, you know what, I'm pretty artistic, I'm pretty good at putting things together. So I started to help people build gyms, and I did some of that in Dubai, and I started doing my own gyms, and it just grew from there, subhanAllah.
The Aussie Mammoth was able to turn his buzz into a business and landed deals across the Arab world with the sheikhs and the princes. The money started coming in fast, and Ahmed was enjoying it.
This is a 458. This car is basically like a collector's car now. They don't make them anymore. So they're the last of the naturally aspirated engines.
But it wasn't just the fast cars. This is also a pilot's logbook. We're talking about planes now. Have you owned a plane? Have you owned your own plane?
Yeah, look, planes are cheaper than cars.
Really?
Yeah,
What kind of Ferraris, obviously, but...
Yeah, like Cessnas,
Clearly, this conversation was kind of out of my league. But anyways, you get the point. He was living it. Yet amidst all the glory and worldly success, his inner child began screaming out to him.
Because I was in Pakistan when I was younger, doing Quran and Deen, felt I wasn't giving that what it should. And I thought to myself, oh, we're Muslim, like, thank God I have a little bit more to think about. That's where it started to open the way that, you know what, I don't think this is not as glamorous as it looks on the outside.
Things were just not right, and it lingered with him everywhere he went.
When I was in the bodybuilding game, I was known as the backstage man. So I would prep all the competitors. And obviously it was mixed, men and women. And the women aren't wearing abayat. And they're calling you, Ahmed, can you come put my number on, you know? And some of them in there have got half their clothes off. And you're going in there calling such and such to the front, such and such. And every, subhanAllah, when I did that work, that was the lowest point of my life, because I would always look at the time and I'd say, it's time to pray. I would have to go find a room to pray. And I'd sit there and go, Ya Allah, take this love of this game for me out of my heart. Wallah, wallah. Allah, I used to ask Allah, as much as I love bodybuilding and the sport, don't make it a love for me anymore. I love training, but don't make this aspect of it that I've been doing for 20 years part of my life anymore.
It was a prayer that would soon come into fruition, but in a manner he never expected. He was hit with a kidney failure that left him hospitalized, bedridden, and in a severe state of denial.
The doctors would tell me, you know, your kidneys aren't looking good. And I say, yeah. You know what I did today? I just bench pressed 200 kilos. I just did this, I did that. That was my attitude. And then subhanAllah, when it all came down and it all crumbled, it all collapsed, I started dialysis. And when dialysis started, I said to them, I don't want to do this dialysis anymore. They said, you'll be dead. I said, we're all gonna die. That was the exact word it said. I said, we're all gonna die, like that. They said, we'll give you 4 weeks. I said, for what? They said, 4 weeks, you'll survive. And wallah, when he said that, it just resonated in my head. I said, what, 4 weeks? I won't see my wife and kids, and I was just looking at death.
Yet as traumatic as the episode was, it was the opening to his transformation.
You know, yeah, humans, when we go to our lowest point in life, we always turn back to Allah. SubhanAllah, when I did get a kidney, alhamdulillah, and I did be blessed by a brother, may Allah reward him and grant him the highest of paradise, donated the kidney to me, that I got a chance to live again. And I said, when that happens, I will never turn back to that life again. I will never go back to what I was doing before. If it wasn't for the sake of Allah, or for benefiting our community, or for benefiting my akhirah, I don't want anything to do with it. And that's what kind of drew me back into going harder in what I do. And this is where I am today.
It was the exact moment the Aussie mammoth became the Muslim Undertaker. Oh my God! I'm sorry, but yeah. He turned his back on the bodybuilding industry and returned back to his roots, back to where it all began as a teenage boy finding fulfillment in the cemetery. But this time, it wasn't only the graveyard, but the washing room.
All right, my brother, this is the room here. This is called the washing room. This shroud comes in 100-meter rolls.
This is your final garment.
Where's your wardrobe now? Where's the labels? Where's the designer names that you sacrificed so hard to buy? They're all back at home in your wardrobe. This is what you're gonna wear. The sadar, the lotus, so this is like bark crushed which bark makes soap. Okay, this is camphor. Smell that, they call it the smell of death.
Oh man, that's scary.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, it's haunting.
And this is what's put on the second wash in the water to preserve the body.
It was clear that Ahmed had a deep understanding of the funeral world, a knowledge he's primarily inherited from his teachers.
I used to assist the guy washing all the time, the old man, Allah yarhamu, Haj Abu Nabil Atar. And he taught me how to wash, you know. He rocked up one day when I was washing a young guy, out of nowhere, the old guy. He got a chair and he placed it right in front of the washing table. And he said, Ballish, like, start. I made a dua, Rabbi shrah li sadri yassir li amri. And I said, Ahmed, you got this, Allah's with you, just do what you do. And I started washing. I finished the wash. He got up, he said, come. He put his hand on my leg, in his hand. He said, I'm happy now. If I pass away, you can wash me. He got up and he walked off. And I looked at him at the window as he was walking off, and one of the people said to me, he's coming back. I said, no, he came to say goodbye. 10 days later, I was washing him.
Yeah.
He was probably one of the hardest washers. The hardest part was when I stand on the head and I put the soap and I clean the body, the face, and I did it on him. It was exactly the way he taught me how to do it. And when I did it on him, I broke down because I just said, this is what he taught me how to do. Allah Akbar, Allah yarhamu, subhanallah.
It's a position Ahmed has upheld with great diligence, and a role that has given him access to some of the deepest secrets and stories our community holds.
This cover here, brothers, it's got the New Zealand feather on it and that. This was a brother, New Zealander brother, came a couple of weeks ago, passed away. Died at home, and he was sick for a little while, 9 months or a year. He was covered in this when we brought him here. When we washed him, no one knew anything about this guy. The boys around me said, Allah Akbar, look, he's smiling. Look how easy. Later on, I asked his 2 children about this man. I love to know. They said he donated his land for a masjid.
Yeah.
And then I said, subhanallah, look at how it leads to how the ending is. Allahu Akbar. And you ask, man, he was always in the remembrance of Allah. He never bothered anyone. He didn't talk about anyone. And these are the things you hear about people.
And New Zealanders are perhaps not even a born Muslim. Perhaps he was a convert.
100%, yeah.
SubhanAllah. But it wasn't just the good secrets Ahmed was keeping.
We had a lady once who we picked up from the coroner. And I thought to myself, how did this lady end up in the coroner, which is old? And I thought, no, she hasn't got family, man. It must be no family. At the funeral, a lot of family showed up. So I went to one of the guys I knew who kind of knows the family. I said, brother, what's the go with her? What'd she go to the coroner for? He said, the kids don't speak to their mum. I said, they don't speak to their mum. He goes, I'll tell you something even better. They live in the same street as their mum too. I said, so their mum died, and she died for a few days before that's why she went to the coroner. Well, her kids live in the street, and because of a grudge, because of something maybe they didn't agree on with their mum, don't talk to their mum. And the regret on their faces, I couldn't have explained it. Allah Akbar, you know, it's sad. These stories are sad because the general world doesn't hear about it.
It was a piece of the world most people would ignore, but to Ahmed, it was every day. And the life that so many of us run towards was the life Ahmed was running away from. Throughout your life, you've driven some pretty prestigious vehicles, and then now all we ever see you is in that funeral hearse.
And I know it's my comfort zone. I take care of that car more than I take care of anything else that I have. For me personally, to sit in that after a funeral, it's disgusting. It feels like, you know, you've gone from a realistic place, being the cemetery, the grave, the washroom, to something that's illusion. But I don't even pay attention to it, subhanAllah. It just sits here only for the reason that it's just kind of storage. It's
if
something.
If you don't need, I'm happy to keep it busy. Look, you can't blame me for trying. But anyways, after Ahmed had embraced his role as an undertaker, the buzz began to build once more. Only this time, the stage wasn't a bodybuilding competition, but social media platforms across the world. He holds a level of experience that is unparalleled. How many of these graves would you say you've buried?
The old section, about 90% of them.
90% of the graves?
Yeah. I would say I've done thousands.
Thousands?
Yeah.
Today, he's considered one of the leading experts in the field, and his advice is regularly sought after.
A brother called me. He said, brother, I have a cemetery I want you to dig. I said, you have a cemetery? Where? Like, unheard of. He goes, in Riverstone. I said, where the hell is Riverstone? So I drove up there on a Sunday, took the family in the forward drive for a drive. It's a long drive. Till I got the cattle and farms, and then I see this cordon fence, and it was this old cemetery, bro, old. And I see this Pakistani or Bangladeshi man standing there, mashallah, Allah, nur coming out of him. I said to him, Assalamualaikum, brother, I'm Ahmed Harachi, what can I do for you? Oh, brother, I worked for so many years back and forth with Blacktown Council to secure this cemetery for the Muslims. I want all our Muslims around the Blacktown and these areas to have somewhere to be buried. I said to him, brother, where are we going to start from? He said, brother, we start from the tree. And there was a tree there. He said, yeah, brother, just start right where the tree is. A couple of weeks later, I get a phone call. Brother Ahmed Harachi, yes, can you dig at Riverston? I said, where's Brother Khan? His name was Muhammad Khan. He said, the funeral is for Muhammad Khan. La ilaha illallah. He was 61 years old. I buried him in the grave right near the tree, the first grave there. And I will never forget this guy because he worked so hard to get this cemetery that he was going to be buried in it first. Unbelievable, subhanAllah.
He put so much effort and he was rewarded. He was the first one to benefit from his own
His sadaqah came for him. He's buried in it, you know. Allahu Akbar. That's a story I'll never forget, man.
Up until this point, my entire interactions with Ahmed were incredibly moving, but I was still yet to find out what made his work so deeply moving. I knew this wasn't enough. I needed to know exactly what the realm of Ahmed was truly like. And this is when I did the unthinkable. Mum, if you're watching, please look away.
Are you ready for this?
No, but I'm gonna do it.
Let's go.
I decided to have Ahmed demonstrate his work on me. Crazy, I know, but if anything was going to help me grasp his work, it was this.
You alright?
Yeah, it's just cold.
I can pull. It's meant to be cold.
As it took place, I told myself I wouldn't speak the entire time and would try my best to immerse myself into the process. It was going to take some work, but I had to do it. So I stayed quiet, absorbed myself into the moment, and internalized everything taking place.
Well, my brother and sister, subhanAllah, we are prepared now to wash our deceased. They'll be shrouded in this shrouding right here. This is the final clothing. The sadr has been added.
I felt disturbed.
The water temperature is warm.
I felt out of place.
We make intention by saying the brother's name. And our brother here, Kamal, we're going to say, Nawaitu an ughassiluhu insha'Allah.
I felt uncomfortable, as though someone was invading my personal space.
Always we go right side to left.
I wanted to escape, but I couldn't. There were times I wanted to move, to tell him to stop, to not cover my mouth, to not leave the soap in my eye. But I let it be. After all, the dead cannot speak.
You can see this is the kamfur here. It's got a very unique smell to it. It's called the smell of death.
For in that moment, I was just a body, to be washed, shrouded, and buried. A journey every human being will be taken through. And it was a thought I couldn't get out of my head. I felt as though I was performing a video that would help inspire or awaken others.
So this is it, my brothers. This is the ending.
I felt I would be desensitized by the cameras and not be able to immerse myself in the event. But after all was done, I realized how incredibly naive I was. It hit me. and it hit me hard.
Well, I don't know what to say.
There's not much you can say.
The whole time sitting there, you're just like,
Allahu Akbar, you make me cry, man. I knew you were going to wake up after it. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
the whole time I'm just saying, أرجو رحمتك. أرجو رحمتك. أدخلني في رحمتك.
But you just had a glimpse, a taste of a reality that we're all going to go through. It's not something that's far-fetched here. This is reality, my brother. This table you sat on has had the biggest and the smallest of people.
You think about the books closed, the deeds are closed, the bad deeds closed, the good deeds closed. Khalas, no more deeds, but Ya Allah, it's all in your hands now. And Arju Rahmatak, I want your mercy. I just want your mercy. And you told us you're Rahman, you told us you're Rahim. You told us that those that believe, those that do good deeds will enter His mercy. And I just want to enter His mercy.
I just thought to myself, how many people have been on this table haven't been able to come back and tell us these exact words, because that would have been the words that would have came out of them. Allah tells us in the Quran that these people say, bring me back so I can do salihan. Bring me back. And this is exactly what you just said in those words.
It was a moment I would never forget. Later that night, I received a call from Ahmed. He was checking up on me to make sure I was coping in the evening, but I soon learnt that this was a tradition Ahmed would follow religiously. You see, whenever he would help a family bury their loved one during the day, he would always make sure to call them later in the evening. Perhaps it was one of the secrets that made his work resonate with so many people.
Alhamdulillah, look, I believe in life, anything you do with a passion, anything you do with a passion, anything you do with your heart, you should be doing it so good because you're actually doing it because you love doing it. You know, and I feel like the role I do, it's a role that I'm going to go through. One day I will be the subject in that. So I look at it as, wow, Allahu Akbar, I'm role playing every single day, my turn.
By the end of my time with Ahmed, I had not only found out how a former bodybuilder became a world-famous mortician, but I found a story of a man who embodies dedication, love, consistency, and an insane level of commitment. Whether he was bodybuilding or burying bodies, he has become an icon for all the right reasons.
Do you ever think about the day someone's going to have to bury you in the grave?
Yeah, I do think of the day it happens. And all I can think about is I pray to Allah, through the mercy of Allah, I have done enough to not even care about one thing about this world anymore. That this world will not mean anything to us anymore. That we're in a much better place.
May Allah reward our brother Ahmed, the Muslim undertaker, in this life and the next. Ameen.